So in this video, I want to showcase how the driver optimization for the 7950X3D, um, parking the frequency cores and preferring the cache cores while games are running is not optimal for every game. Some games actually prefer the frequency cores, and some games actually prefer having unfettered access to all cores. What we're going to talk about here is the games that prefer having access to frequency cores. So I have Universe Sandbox here. Technically, it's not a game, but Windows thinks it's a game. That's what matters. Game mode is turned on. We'll open the game. This is default settings. Everything is default. Now, the frame rate's not what's important here, because it's not GPU bound. What matters is the simulation speed, which you see right here. And you can max this out, increase this however high you want. I can put it at, 2,300 years per second, but it won't go that high. You'll see it says simulation can't run faster with current settings. And right now we're at about 23 to 25 years per second. And another thing I want to talk about is how this performance is not super duper consistent when you're on game mode. You'll see it's jumping up and down quite a bit. And that translates to microstutters in games like this. Again, not a game, but some games actually run like this. And if you look at the way the resources are being utilized, you'll see the cache cores coming first. Some of the frequency cores are active. These cores down here, you'll see they keep activating and deactivating over and over again. And I think that's what's causing the performance inconsistency. Now, we'll relaunch the game with game mode turned off. So we'll just exit this game. And then we will turn game mode off. And we'll relaunch the game. Now the cache cores don't get preferred, and the frequency cores don't try to park. So it's just like normally using the desktop. And we'll increase the simulation speed again. And as you can see, that's substantially better. We're now at about 32 to 33 years per second. So yeah, it's clear that game mode preferring the cache cores on this game is actually detrimental to its performance. And again, technically not a game, but it counts as a game because game mode is attempting to optimize it. I've also demonstrated similar behavior on Minecraft, where game mode severely reduces the performance of it while chunks are being rendered. And I think that's actually just to do with the parking, but it could just be because it prefers frequency. I don't know. Either way, Minecraft stutters like crazy with game mode on when you're flying around in creative mode with the rendering distance set to max. And this is a similar result here. Now, if you really want to optimize this game, I have a software called Process Lasso. It was inactive. I just turned it on, and I'm going to set the affinity of Universe Sandbox to only the frequency cores. And I know for a fact that this will actually give you even better performance. As you can see now we're getting closer to 35 years per second. Between 34 and 35 years per second. So, and you'll see that, again, the cache cores jump down because they're not really being used, except for maybe background processes. So not only the frequency cores are being used, and the best performance comes when this specific game is locked to CCD1, the second CCD with the frequency cores. Its performance worst with default game mode behavior, and somewhere in the middle, pretty close to optimal, with just game mode turned off. So there's clearly some optimization AMD needs to do for certain titles, like this one, because they created a one-size-fits-most solution, but not a one-size-fits-all. And I know there is no one-size-fits-all. Really, what would be ideal is if the game itself could specify which cores it would prefer to run on, and then do all that itself. So I don't really have a solution, but it's worth noting that this behavior exists on certain games and other processes that Windows thinks is a game. Oh, and I did want to show you one other thing. So I turned Process Lasso back off, but I changed the power profile from balanced to high performance. Now what that does is during games, the frequency cores won't park. It'll still prefer the cache cores. So the cache cores will have higher utilization than the frequency cores. And in most games, these will just be super duper low, but they won't be inactive. But as you can see, unlike before, where like the last few were basically at 0% usage, now they're all somewhat active. And now we're still getting decent performance around 30 years per second. So this is better. Game mode is still turned. I turned game mode back on. So this is with game mode on, but high performance. We're still getting better performance than with the balanced power profile. So simply turning on high performance power profile improves this game's performance. Now, is that the case with every game? No, it isn't. It definitely isn't. Some games do not benefit, especially games that really prefer cache, because the game threads will leak onto the frequency cores, causing the latency in the cache hits when they're running on the frequency cores, with cross CCD communication. But this game is an exception. So I've measured 4 different levels of performance at this point. Game mode on default settings is the worst. Game mode on high performance power profile is somewhat better. Game mode off is even better. And then game mode off locking the game's affinity to the frequency cores is the best performance. Now, of course, in real life, you don't want to set affinity. What you would want to do in Process Lasso, there's this other option called CPU sets. So the affinity actually locks the game to those cores, which is not good because if you set it to always, some games will crash on startup. But CPU sets is better because it doesn't lock the game to those cores. It just tells Windows to heavily prefer those cores for that game. So that's the preferred usage, but they both have the same end result. Just the CPU sets tends to be more stable, prevents the game from crashing. But right now Process Lasso is off. That's why it's a start governor, just to prove that it wasn't doing anything. So yeah, there's that.